everyone, and welcome to UKIBC Trade Talks, where we talk about everything related to FTA, from policy to practice, with our in-house experts. And today we have with us Stephen Crisp, who's the Director for Government Relations with UKIBC. Thanks, Stephen, for your time, and pleasure to have you with us. If I could start off by asking you about the UK policy landscape and how do you think it has evolved and changed when it comes to engaging with India?
Well, there's a number of changes that have taken place. They've been a lot of it is to do with India itself, in that India is becoming a much more present country globally. It's having a lot more influence, and of course the UK now, with now it's left the EU, is looking for countries to set trade agreements up with, and it's done a number of them. Although I contend that the one with India is the most significant of the ones so far. India itself geopolitically is becoming far more important. It is understood that it will have a real presence, both geopolitically and as a trade country. And so I see very much the current relationship in those terms.
So thanks, Stephen. If I could start off by asking you about the FTA, if you could just help us set the context to the FTA.
Yeah, the FTA is just to make life easier and less expensive to move goods and services between both countries. So, for example, for the UK, it's estimated that by 2040, it will increase exports to India by 59%. If we take this look at some specific sectors, machinery goes from 33% tariff to 0%. Advanced manufactured products go down by about 50%, depending. Luxury cars go from 100% to 10% on a quota basis. And of course, very importantly, whiskey goes from 75%, goes to 75% from 150% immediately, and then 40% in the next 10 years. There are some others as well. Biscuits, salmon, smoked salmon is going to go zero tariff as well, which gives it an advantage for Scottish salmon over the competitor, which is mainly Norwegian. And so there are others as well. There's a series of reductions. We've also got some improvement on the ease of moving goods, doing business, time that things are held in ports and so on and so forth.
What do you think the UK-India FTA is from a business and policy perspective?
So it's huge in both respects. If you take it just business perspective, the UK is dropping 99% of its tariff lines for India imports, and India is dropping something like 90%. And it is, I believe, the only FTA that India has done that has a services chapter. So the UK is essentially a services industry economy, so it's very, very important. But for goods, it is massive. I mean, it's for machinery, for luxury goods such as salmon, such as whiskey, but also luxury cars and so on. In terms of the wider context, you have to look at these things in the wider context. This isn't just a trade deal, this is a trust deal. And what it signifies is a level of trust between the UK and India governments in the long term. So the negotiations for this didn't start with this government in the UK, finished with them, and they were very well getting over the line. But it's across the parties. So one party handed this on to another party, and there's a general feeling, that tells you there's a general feeling that this is important and that we can trust, or the UK government can trust the partner they're dealing with, because it's not political. And as the as India grows in geopolitical heft, these deals will be more important. And as the geopolitics change and the way the world, how should we say, orders itself changes, I think India will be in a much stronger position in the next 5 to 10 years as well.
Right. So we're now moving from negotiation to execution with the FTA, right? So along with trade, what are the other areas of collaboration or strategic cooperation between the two economies?
Well, the hope is that this will move it into diplomacy, into defence, into education, into joint research. Defence is a very interesting one. I won't go into the numbers on defence, but the point with defence is you do not do defence deals with people you don't trust.
Right.
From either end. You don't sell to people you don't trust, and you don't buy from people you don't trust, because they can turn off your weapons, as it were. So that is quite significant. It was a small deal recently in terms of defence. It's a small deal, but that was quite significant. Diplomacy, I think it should be getting deeper. It should be getting more aligned as well. And then we have research and development. That's again another trust area. You don't go into heavy R&D areas with countries and with governments you don't trust.
And how do you think, in your opinion, how do you feel like the India story is viewed by the UK government and businesses? The India growth story, the reform agenda, how is it looked upon?
Well, India is currently the UK's 11th biggest trading partner. That's both good and bad. It's good, isn't it? It's the 11th biggest trading partner, but it's bad and it should be a lot higher. I think the government is understanding that India is a very important both trade and geostrategic partner. So that gives India a lot of profile here. It's a generally positive thing. You don't hear the political concerns about doing deals with India. You get some concerns on the edges, but they're very, very niche concerns, if I can put it that way. And India, I mean, it's got the world's biggest population. It's got the world's fastest growth. It's got the biggest middle class in the world, which will be 61% of the population by 2046. It's got the youngest population. I think the average age in India now is 29. Very different to Europe.
Yeah.
Very different to Europe. And so it is just seen as the future, as the next big country. At the same time, India is, of course, it's liberalising its structures. It's trying to encourage investment, and this is long term. Encouraging investment, moving from a model to another model, does not just happen overnight. You have the whole culture that has to come in as well. And then there's the geopolitics. I mean, there's a realisation that, for example, supply chains are crucial in all parts of industry. And where do you want to put your supply chain? Do you want to put your supply chain in a country that is aligned to your values or is not aligned to your values? And so India is going to start, or is starting to really take, how should we say, a more active role in getting the supply chain into India, and then it going from there to the main manufacturing.
Right. If I could narrow down this conversation and center it on to UKIBC, what role do you think UKIBC would play in helping businesses navigate this complex regulatory landscape?
Yeah, so, I mean, that's UKIBC's role. I mean, it is the premier corridor, UK-India corridor grouping. And so it is there to help companies as they go in, not just to invest, but to stay there. Because it's very easy to get your money into a country, but if you don't know what you're doing, it's very hard to both keep it there and to move it out afterwards as well. So we're there to really help companies set up and then stay there. So it's quite an important role. It's also, we have well over 100 members. It's important when you're dealing with governments you don't understand or regulatory models you don't understand, that you hunt in packs, and we help with that. You have to have a loud voice and you have to be quite vocal, sometimes vocal quietly, but you have to be able to do that, and really numbers count.
Right. And last but not least, how important do you think industry bodies and bilateral organizations are in helping shape policy dialogues between businesses and governments?
They're very important. I mean, the trade bodies, membership bodies have a number of roles. One is they multiply the voice. That's what we do. We multiply the voice, as I said. You hunt in packs.
Right.
But the other point is that you also are able to say things on behalf of a wide group, And very often companies want to say things they don't want to be quoted on saying. So very often you do that through trade bodies as well. You need a trade body to do this, but you really multiply the voice and you multiply the effectiveness with membership organisations. And then we have a big role in access, in advocacy, and just general intelligence for our members as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Stephen. It's been really insightful. I've learned a lot, and I'm hoping everyone watching the video also has learned a thing or two about the FTA. So thanks very much for your time, and stay tuned for more in-house experts talking to you. Thank you.